Hi, this is my important quit social media. Quit social media is the topic which I'm going to tell you. What is social media? And now, in my case, social media is anything from YouTube to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or anything which you can interact with others. We can interact with others, and others also can interact with us. So this is social media. So you probably don't realize that right now you are actually looking at something quite rare. Because I am a millennial computer scientist, book author standing on a TEDx stage, and yet I have never had a social media account. How this happened was actually somewhat random. Social media first came onto my radar when I was at college. My sophomore year of college. This is when Facebook arrived at our campus. At that time, which was right after the first dot-com bust, I had a dorm room business. I have had to shut it down in the bust, and then suddenly this other kid from Harvard named Mark had this product called Facebook, and people being excited about it. And so, in sort of a fit of somewhat immature professional jealousy, I said, I'm not going to use this thing. I won't help this kid business. Whatever going to amount to, as I along my life, I look up not long later and I see everyone I know he's hooked on this thing. And from the charity you can get when you have some objectivity, some perspective on it, I realize this seems a little bit dangerous. So I never signed up. I've never had a social media account since. So I am here for two reasons. I want to deliver my two messages. The first message I want to deliver is that even though I have never had a social media account, I am okay. You don't have to worry. It turns out I still have friends. I still know what's going on in this world. As a computer scientist, I still collaborate with people all around the world. I am still regularly exposed serendipitous to interesting ideas, and I really describe myself as lacking entertainment options. So I have been okay, but I would go even further than and say not only I am okay without social media, but I think I am actually better off. I think I'm happier. I think I find more sustainability in my life. And I think I have been more successful professionally because I don't use social media. So, my second goal here on stage is try to convince more of you to believe the same thing. Let us see if I could actually convince more of you that that you too would be better off if you quit social media. So, if the theme of this TEDx event is future tense, I guess, in other words, this would be my vision of the future, would be one in which few people actually use social media. That's a big claim. I think I need to back it up. So I thought what I would do is take the three most common objections I hear when I suggest to people that they quit social media, and then for each of the objections I try to diffuse the hype, and see if I can actually push in some more reality. This is the first most common objection I hear. That's not a hermit. That's actually a hipster web developer down from 8th Street. I am not sure. Hipster or hermit, sometimes it's hard to tell. The first objection goes as follows: called social media is one of the fundamental technologies of the 21st century. To reject social media would be an act of extreme bloodism. It would be like riding to work on a horse or using a rotary phone. I can't take such a big stance in my life. My reaction to that objection is, I think that is nonsense. Social media is not a fundamental technology. It leverages some fundamental technologies, but it's a better understood as this, which is to say it's a source of entertainment. It's an entertainment product. The way that technologist jargon linear puts it is that these companies offer you shiny treats is in exchange of for minutes of your attention and bytes of your personal data, which can be which can then be packaged up and sold. So to say that you don't use social media should not be a large social stance. It's just rejecting one form of entertainment for others. There should be no more controversial than saying, I don't like newspapers, I like to get my newspaper from magazines, or I prefer to watch cable series as opposed to network television series. It's not a major political or social stance to say you don't use this product. You use my use of the slot machine image up here also is not accidental, because if you look a little bit closer at these technologies, it's not just that they are a source of entertainment, but they are a somewhat unsavory source of entertainment. We now know that many of the major social media companies here hire individuals called attention engineers who borrow principles from Las Vegas casino gambling among other places to try to make these products as addictive as possible. That is the desired use case of these products, is that you use it in an addictive fashion because that maximizes the product profit that can be extracted from your attention and data. So it's not a fundamental technology, it's just a source of entertainment, one among many, and it's somewhat unsavory if you look a little bit closer. Here is the second common objection I hear when I suggest that people quit social media. The objection goes as follows: Kyle, I can't quit social media because it is vital to my success in the 21st century economy. If I do not have a well cultivated social media brand, people won't know who I am. People won't be able to find me. Opportunities won't come my way, and I will effectively disappear from the economy. Again, my reaction is once again this objection is also a nonsense. I recently published this book that draws on multiple different standards of evidence to make the point that in a competitive 21st century economy, what the market values is the ability to produce things that are rare and are available, are valuable. If you produce something that's rare and valuable, the market will value that. What the market dismisses for the most part are activities that are easy to replicate and produce a small amount of value. Well, social media use is the epitome of an easy to replicate activity that doesn't produce a lot of value. It's something that any 6-year-old with a smartphone can do. By definition, the market is not going to give a lot of value to those behaviors. It's instead going to reward the deep, concentrated work required to build real skills and to apply these skills to produce things like a craftsman that are rare and that are valuable. To put it in another way, if you can write an elegant algorithm, if you can write a legal brief that can change a case, if you can write 1,000 words of prose that's going to fixate a reader right to the end, if you can look at a sea of ambiguous data and apply statistics and pull out insights that could transform business strategy, if you can do these types of activities which require deep work that produce outcomes that are rare and valuable, people will find you. You will be able to write your own ticket and build the foundation of a meaningful and successful professional life, regardless of how many Instagram followers you have. This is the third comment objection I hear when I suggest to people that they quit social media. In some sense, I think it might be one of the most important. This objection goes as follows, Kyle. Maybe I agree, maybe you're right, it's not a fundamental technology. Maybe using social media is not at the core of my professional success, but we know what, it's harmless. I have some fun on it. Word, Twitter's funny. I don't even use it that much. I am a first adopter. It's kind of interesting to try it out, and maybe I might miss out something if I don't use it. What's the harm? Again, I look back and I say this objection also is a nonsense in this case. What it misses is what I think is a very important reality that we need to talk about more frankly, which is that social media brings with it multiple well documented and significant harms. We actually have to confront these harms head on when trying to make decisions about whether or not we embrace this technology and let it into our lives. One of these harms that we know this technology brings has to do with your professional success. I just argued before that the ability to focus intensely to produce things that are rare and valuable, to hone skills the marketplace value on, that this is what will matter in our economy. But right before that, I argued that social media tools are designed to be addictive. The actual desired use case of these tools is that you fragment your attention as much as possible throughout your waking hours. That's how the tools are designed to use. We have a growing amount of research which tells us that if you spend large portions of your day in a state of fragmented attention, large portions of your day breaking up your attention to take a quick glance to just check, let me quickly look at Instagram, that this can permanently reduce your capacity for concentration. In other words, you could permanently reduce your capacity to do exactly the type of deep effort that we are finding to be more and more necessary in the increasingly competitive economy. So, social media use is not harmless, it can actually have a significant negative impact on your ability to thrive in the economy. I am especially worried about this when look at the young generation, which is the most saturated in this technology. If you lost your ability to sustain concentration, you are going to become less and less relevant to this economy. There is also psychological harms that are well documented that social media brings that we do need to address. We know from the research literature that the more you use social media, the more likely you are to feel lonely or isolated. We know that the constant exposure to friends, carefully curated positive portrayals of their life, can leave you to feel inadequate and can increase rates of depression. And something I think we are going to be hearing more about in the near future, that there is fundamental mismatch between the way your brains are wired and this behavior of exposing yourself to stimuli with intermittent rewards throughout all of your waking hours. It's one thing to spend a couple of hours at a slot machine in Las Vegas, but if you are bring one with you and you pull the handle all day long from when you wake up to when you go to bed, we are not wired from it. It short circuits the brain, and we are starting to find has actual cognitive consequences, one of them being this sort of pervasive background turn of anxiety, a hum of anxiety. The canary in the coal mine of for this issue is actually college campuses. If you talk to mental health experts on college campuses, they will tell you that along with the rise of ubiquitous smartphone use and social media use among the students on the campus came an explosion of anxiety related disorders on those campuses. That's the canary in the coal mine. This type of behavior has a mismatch for our brain wiring and can make you feel miserable. So there is real cost to social media use, which means when you are trying to decide you should I use this or not, saying it's harmless is not enough. We actually have to identify significantly positive clear benefit that can outweigh these potential completely non-trivial harms. People often ask, okay, but when it's a life like without social media, that can actually be a little bit scary to think about. According to people who went through this process, there can be a few difficult weeks. It actually is like a true detox process. The first 2 weeks can be uncomfortable. You feel a little bit anxious, you feel like you are missing a limb, but after that things settle down, and actually life after social media can be quite positive. There is two things I can report back from the world of no social media use. First, it can be quite productive. I am a professor at a research institution. I have written 5 books. I rarely work past 5 p.m. on a weekday. Part of the way I am trying to able to pull that off is because it turns out if you treat your attention with respect, so you don't fragment it, you allow it to stay whole, you preserve your concentration when it comes time to work, you can do one thing after another and do it with intensity can be traded for time. It's surprising how much you can get done in a 8 hour a day if you're able to give each thing intense concentration after another. Something else I can report back from life without social media is that outside of work, things can be quite peaceful. I often joke I would be very comfortable being 1930s farmer, because if you look at my leisure time, I read the newspaper while the sun comes up. I listen to baseball on the radio. I honest to God sit in leather chair and read hardcover books at night after my kids go to bed. It sounds old fashioned, but they were on to something back then. It's actually a restorative, peaceful way of actually spend your time out of work. You don't have the constant hum of stimuli and the background hum of anxiety that comes along with that. So life without social media is really not so bad. If you pull together these threads, you see my full argument that not everyone, but certainly much more people than right now, much more people should not be using social media. That's because we can first, to summarize, discard with the main consensus that it's a fundamental technology you have to use. Nonsense. It's not machine your phone. You can discard with this notion that you won't get a job without it. Nonsense. Anything a 6-year old with a smartphone can do is not going to be what the market rewards. And then emphasize the point that there is real harms with it. So it's not just harmless. You really would have to have a significant benefit before you would say that trade-off is worth it. Finally, I noted that life without social media, there is real positive associated with it. So I am hoping that when many of you actually go through the same calculus, I will at least consider the perspective I am making right now, which is many more people would be much better off if they didn't use this technology. Some of you might disagree, some of you might have a scathing but accurate critics of me and my points. And of course, I welcome all negative feedback. I just ask that you direct your comments towards Twitter. Thank you.